That was a beautiful AV.
Good evening and very warm welcome. I think it's always a joy to come back to this city. This city makes you love every time when you come. And this has been a very special experience for me. I think what we've done together and a lot of new faces that I see in the hall today, I just want to let you know who we are, what do we do. We are the largest foreign publishing firm based out of the Middle East, and we straddle a spectrum of industries and communities. And the world's most respected titles like AD, Condé Nast, Arabian Business News, Cosmopolitan, and many others we do. If we really jog our memories, about a decade back, we launched ITP in India, with the first magazine being Hotelier India, which soon became really the torchbearer and a baton to the industry to navigate, to understand the pain points of the industry. That really gave birth to many more titles. What you saw in that 3-minute film is our existence. And what we believe is that we must co-create some great content, great conferences like this, which allows knowledge sharing at the highest level. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me deep pleasure and honor to welcome each and every one of you to be with us. What we created is a thread of discussion. The design debate, when we look back fondly the last year, Mohitji, Viresh, everybody's here, and we were talking about technology. And we said very soon we realized we need to talk and switch gears and bring some topic which really stir the conversation and evoke thoughts and ideas and really create that engagement within the fraternity. As we approach the end of this year, I'm proud to tell what my colleagues just mentioned. We did 21 cities. And I have to tell you this, each city gave us immense learning. Each city allows us to understand the way each city behaves, how design behaves, how people behind some incredible buildings and body of work that they do across the length and breadth of this country gave us immense learning and encouragement to make sure that not only design debate, I think the discussion continues and continues, and we really look forward to participation of the industry. And I'm very confident to tell you in this evening that we are also putting some incredible and the most respected awards in the country in the remaining 3 months of this year. One is, of course, very close to my heart, Aces of Space Design Awards. I think my colleague Amrita will play that video, and I would urge everybody here to participate in that, and you would be absolutely put up to an incredible jury, a grand jury, and the acid test will really bring the best in the country. Second, in terms of the commercial office space, we have this Commercial Design Awards coming in Bangalore on 24th of November, which really talks about the office segment. The way that particular industry has grown in last 5 years has been an incredible leap. And last not the least, we obviously put on 11 December the Hotelier India Awards, which are also called as the Oscars of the hospitality industry. But I don't want to give you much discourse about ITP Media and what do we do, but we stand by with you for everything. And I encourage the people, youngsters behind, that you should reach out to us, and we make sure that we give you a platform to become, a kind of a nationwide platform. But ladies and gentlemen, I have very dear friend, architect Madhav Joshi, our keynote speaker. Please give him a hand. Some other body of work and the building that he's done, which I'm very fond of, Ritz-Carlton, you'll see over the day. My friend Jyoti Rath, thank you for agreeing to curate this. And I have seen the journey of Jyoti right from Delhi and now in Goa. He is only raving and ranting about Goa. And I'm always almost a convert. So I'm very soon looking to come back and have something in Goa. So ladies and gentlemen, I think like you, I'm here to learn and look forward for an incredible evening of learning, sharing, collaboration, and many more. And no journey is possible unless have you got great brands and great partners. So thank you, Mohitji, Jaguar, Viresh. Thank you. You people have been holding Nexicon, Hafele. I hope I haven't missed any, but I think these brands stood the test of time and reposed confidence in us and, stood and encouraged us to do something remarkable like this. Thank you. You've been absolutely wonderful. And I think we look forward for a great discussion ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vibhor sir, for that heartwarming speech. Design Debate and our partnering brands have always expressed immense gratitude for the support and participation of our phenomenal speakers, curators, and our esteemed guests. And to share the joy, I would like to invite Mr. Mohit Hajila, Group Head Business Development from Jaguar Group, to please come on stage and share the welcome note. Sir, can we please have you on stage? Please, can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Mohit Hajila?
Thank you, ITP. Thank you, everyone who has joined us today on behalf of Jaguar Group. It's absolutely a pleasure to welcome each one of you. Coming from few of my friends coming from different parts of India, and so many of you talk of Goa, and there's a very different sense of excitement that comes in. The minute you say Goa and you say, oh yes, everyone is ready. So I think there's something about the city, there's something about the people that makes the city so vibrant. And for me, yes, Jaguar Group needs no introduction to this forum. So I think I'll not like to talk much about what the group does. I think you all know that we're into 55 plus countries and growing. So I think it's been a symbiotic relationship with architects, with designers. We have grown from scratch. I think it's one relationship that we feel most proud of. I think we have grown with architects as much as architects have grown with us. So I think I mean, we are into 63rd year. We call it 63rd year of monumental legacy. And the beauty is that we enjoy almost the same market share. So it's just a coincidence, nothing more. But again, thank you so much for joining in. I think coming from an industry also, I'm the most unqualified person to be talking design and aesthetics and economics in the forum of designers. But it is always said, keep good friends. So I think my architects friends have turned me from an engineer MBA to half architect. So I think I like to share what I think and also draw a perspective the way we look at things from outside. I think aesthetics versus economics is a very interesting topic. It intrigues, and something closest that I can see to it is where faith ends and logic begins. I think it's something as intriguing as that. But deep diving a little more, if I look at aesthetics versus economics separately with predominantly form following function, then how do we approach aesthetics? I think I have some pen thoughts which I felt while I was flying out, I was just trying to think. I think it's the practice of architecture skillfully navigates the fine line that distinguishes art from business and aesthetic from economics. Where do the two come together for a design solution that is at once sustainable, conscious, and futuristic? But then with form following function, how do we approach aesthetics? I think I would like to look at it from a perspective that is it the impunity? I repeat, is it the impunity with which in public realm we see obnoxious structures and urban scapes seldom designed in context and being glaringly lit? Kapil is here from the lighting fraternity. You will appreciate what lighting pollution is doing today. And then again, when it comes to economics, do we approach it only from the perspective of just being L1? Should a designer not have a final say when it comes to urban planning and design and developing cities of tomorrow? Food for thought. My take on it on aesthetics, I would say, is more about the way I look at it. I think aesthetics need to be viewed from the prism of aesthetic longevity. Achieving timelessness in design is of utmost consequence. And going back to economics, I would say economics is essentially not L1, but a great design first, delivered high on performance, and preferably being frugally engineered. We need sustainability from perspectives of materiality, optimal sourcing, and drawing strong regional design perspectives that meet climate change of imperatives. How successfully we are able to create a disaster-resilient infrastructure to make economies thrive in a globally connected world today. To close and summarize, I would say, where is the balance in delivering an architecture marvel that scores on all four? Function, to be read as efficiency. Cost, definitely economy. Technical edge and advancement, to be seen as innovation. And beauty, translating to aesthetics. Thank you so much. We have a great panel today. I'm looking forward to Madhav's presentation. My friend Jyoti and Pratap and so many couple. Looking forward to a great session today. And definitely we look forward to more engagement thereafter. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a really heartwarming speech. And moving on, I'd like to now acknowledge about a very, very special guest that we have amongst here tonight. So let me introduce a little bit about her way of life. Designing is a way of life as she walks, talks, and lives architecture. Her exposure to international architecture in Malaysia held her in good stead while working at Steen, Doshi, and Bhalla in Delhi. Her passion to teach had led her to become a visiting faculty at the Goa College of Architecture. Her timeless style of architecture gives a zing to her projects. With over 33 years of experience, she designs for the end user's satisfaction and not to make a statement for her personal gratification. Designing of the high-end homes is her forte, even though designing for the masses is her dream. And she plans to fulfill this dream by setting up an institute named SOMA. If I pronounce it correctly, it's School of Meaningful Architecture in Goa. In Goa, she has designed over 500 homes, over 20 hotels and factory projects, and group housing, and Go Green is always her prime specification. Special social services gives her immense satisfaction. Ladies and gentlemen, please give her a huge round of applause and welcoming our guest of honor for tonight, the very talented and noble architect Rita Modi Joshi, CEO of Rita Modi Joshi and Associates. Ma'am, can we please have you on stage? Welcome to the Design Debate event, ma'am.
Hi, friends. It's nice to be here amongst my fellow associates. And it's a privilege to be the guest of honor over here. I don't know if it happened by mistake or it's because of the due diligence that I've been doing in my profession. This is a very interesting topic, aesthetics versus economics. So I have a few lines to share amongst this august gathering. The relationship between aesthetics and economics in architecture is complex and multifaceted. Architects and designers often grapple with the challenge of balancing the desire for aesthetically pleasing and innovative designs with the economic constraints and practical considerations of a project. Balancing aesthetics and economics architects often strive to find a balance between aesthetics and economics. This involves making design choices that meet the project's financial requirements while maintaining the desired aesthetic quality. Creative problem solving is essential to achieve this balance. Architects may explore innovative designs, materials, construction techniques that offer cost saving while still achieving a distinctive look. Value engineering is a process where design elements are scrutinized to identify cost-saving opportunities without sacrificing essential aesthetic qualities. In the long term, architects may consider the long-term implications of design choices. Well-executed aesthetics and sustainable design can enhance a building's value and reduce maintenance cost over time. In conclusion, the relationship between aesthetics and economics in architecture is not a simple trade-off, but a complex interplay. Architects must navigate their factors and make informed decisions that align with the project's goals. Budget and context. Successful architecture design often involves finding creative solutions that harmonize aesthetics and economics to create buildings that are both visually striking and financially viable. These are a few thoughts which I penned down today. I've had a very interesting life. I was born and brought up in Jamshedpur. That's also called Tata Nagar. And I consider myself a Tata product. Reliable and nowadays very energy efficient. We have to think of our future generation, our children. So if we use up everything, and if we do not do sensitive design, then we are asking for trouble. Why are wars happening? Why is there global warming? I just want you all to think about that when you all design. I have been a teacher always, even till today. When before COVID happened, I had my office in Panjim, and I used to work late hours. And one day it just happened that my car had a seizure because I didn't have time to look after my vehicles or things like that. And the tow vehicle came to tow the vehicle. But my car was full of samples. I call them, they are my stories. And luckily, my daughter happened to be in town. It was 12:30, 1 o'clock at night. I was stuck in the middle of the road in Porvorim. She came with her vehicle, turned it around, and transferred everything from my car into her car. And we reached home. That was the decision that made me shift my office home. This was 2 months before COVID hit. Isn't that a story? Working from home became natural to me. Was it God's plan? So I think when you'll go drive around anywhere, think of the future, be a little sensitive, and money is not the be-all and end-all in life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And let me tell you that you were absolutely the deserving guest of honor that we could have for tonight. And we are overwhelmed that you made it. So, a round of applause for a very special person who gave such a beautiful message. No, ma'am, I request you to please stay back. I'd like to invite Mr. Mohit Hajila, Group Head Business Development from Jaguar Group, Mr. Bibhor Srivastav, Managing Director of ITP Media Group, and architect Pratap Nayak to kindly come on stage and felicitate our dear guest of honor. Can we please have a huge round of applause? Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, everyone. And before we move further, we would like you all to acknowledge a very interesting brand called Hafley. Can we please have the AV?
It's a space they call home. A space they can withdraw into. To create ghost memories. To bow out for the hustle that awaits. When your home can offer so much, it deserves much more. It deserves solutions of tomorrow, which were brought to life in 1923, that continued to evolve and outrun the times. It all started with just one goal: to help people make more of their homes. With the highest quality home interior solution, the future of homes was unleashed. Germany's homes seemed to be transforming. Soon, the world began noticing a new side of smarter living, and the doors across borders began to open. Today, almost 100 years later, homes in 150 countries enjoy all that Hayfeather has to offer, including the most diverse market, India. A thorough understanding of the market since 2003 has helped us strengthen our core position as a hardware leader, as well as adapt to the specific needs of this region and venture into related home interior categories, such as home appliances, furniture lighting, bathroom solutions, and interior services. Being the world leaders of innovative home solutions, we have left no stone unturned when it comes to creating architectural marvels, interior design benchmarks, and unparalleled and joyous living. All this with the highest quality standards and a heritage that is true blood German, bringing absolute ease in everyday home living. It's time to relook your space. Be one you like to look forward into. It's time to recreate that golden, the one you create memories in. It's time to reinvent the time you spent when you bow out for the hustle that awaits. It's time to reimagine your homes today. In one place you will call your home forever.
Thank you to the team of Hafley. That was indeed a very captivating AV. Moving ahead, we are delighted to introduce to you all our keynote speaker for the event. He is an accomplished architect and urban planner from Vai, Maharashtra. He began his career as an urban planning consultant for an NGO, working on projects funded by organizations such as the World Bank and National Housing Bank. In 1998, he established his own design studio, Madhav Joshi and Associates (MJA) in Pune. He believes in architectural creativity while designing projects that explores new frontiers of contextual modernism as a consciously adopted approach rather than a style. He leads a dynamic and ingenious team of architects who work creatively to translate functional projects briefs into poetic and contextual built forms. With a unique portfolio of work in and around Pune, some of his notable projects include the Business Bay and Ritz-Carlton Hotel. It's a mixed-use urban design project on Airport Road, Courtyard Marriott Hotel, an office complex at Hinjwad, Pune, and the ICC Tech Park Tower A at SB Road. He has received many allocates for his work, including the IIA Award 2018 and the Tata Tiskin Race Award 2012, to name a few. His work was also a part of the exhibition The State of Architecture at the National Gallery of Modern Arts in Mumbai. With immense pleasure, I'd like to invite on stage the keynote for the design debate show, architect Madhav Joshi, principal architect from Madhav Joshi and Associates. Sir, can we please have you on stage? Welcome to the show, sir. I now leave the forum to you.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. As it seldom happens, we are running short of time, and I'm supposed to squeeze whatever I have planned, but I'll try my best. Firstly, thank you before for continuous encouragement. Regards to all my friends, panelists, and delegates in the audience. And I would like to actually start with a preamble. This topic today is going to be deliberated widely on various aspects, but I chose to remain focused on one aspect of aesthetics and economics, although I won't be talking much about the economics of making urban spaces. But the concern for aesthetics, as Mohit rightly mentioned, to my surprise and delight, that urban spaces or urbanscapes are equally important, because that's the first interface for anybody when you visit a place or two. So my presentation is going to be about one project where we attempted to take into the stride all the various typologies that a particular development had to put together, and finally how it can be sort of placed on the map of Pune. So it's a small effort in terms of trying some principles of urban design, if you want to call it. But ultimately, the idea was to make one object, one type of building, the hero of the whole exercise, and that was Ritz-Carlton, Pune. So I'll begin. So I named this conversation urban aesthetics. Actually, I'll be talking about how the design of this mixed-use development, which includes a business bay. It's the name of the cluster of corporate offices, and the five-star hotel, which is the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, came about. When you are actually positioning a development of this scale, which is on 12.5-acre site, and which is about to amount to about 30+ lakh square feet of built-up area, that's a huge building bulk that you'll be handling. And it falls on the gateway to Pune as you come from the airport. And so rather than looking at this just an opportunity to design something, it was seen more of a responsibility, because this is a story which began in 2004, and where Pune's new development had just begun, and it's a greenfield development. And one had a responsibility to sort of have this urban insert in a manner that it could be, noticeable. It can become a landmark for the city, and it can be a good reference for future as well. When it comes to some attempt to do urban design propositions. I come from a place called Vai. It's the first temple town on the river Krishna. As one grew up in this setting, one was exposed to wonderful waterfronts like this and a lot of interesting interior parts of the town and the village. But there were some learnings from this, which subconsciously came handy when one was dealing with the large built-up of this project, as I'm going to explain. There are lots of references, there are a lot of learnings, but I'm just trying to summarize few, not dwell upon too many of them. Rivers get flooded, and then you must have seen in the previous picture that all these waterfront areas have high walls, which are retaining walls, just to sort of keep the water away from the habitable areas. So all the solid material or the stone, the hard built areas or the high pedestals of plinth are made out of stone, and all the materials which are used for houses, which are like mud walls or wood, all the delicate or fragile materials are used, having them protected from the flood waters on top of it. Now, this was a very interesting situation that I had been observing. And when we started working on this project, sort of a kind of an analogy about that phenomena was brought in here, because the street, which is a major arterial street, if you just compare it with a river, and which gets flooded with traffic and noise, and that's the sort of a threat that is posed to the this workplace. So we wanted to sort of fend off that entire workplace area by just perching it up onto the podium of a solid wall like this. And also, there was another concern that we wanted to deal with, was juxtaposition of this development amidst a substantial presence of urban poor settlement. So we didn't want to create a dialogue between two different economies, and we wanted to keep a silent sort of presence there, because this is a destination in itself for high-end retail or the guest of Ritz-Carlton. So these are our urban normal concerns that we normally deal with by creating a public realm, in other case, to give some space to the city. But here, if we would have done that, that would have created challenges, because you're juxtaposing different typologies of housing or commercial developments in front of each other. So that was just a beginning of this idea. And like you saw, the houses in Y above the wall, all this other materials like fragile materials, which are like perched up with the floating masses to make it look more light. Ultimately, one had to deal with 30 lakh square feet of development. And this was the context. Few initial sketches. How to break down the volume, that was the idea. Two simple office towers stacked horizontally, and they create a backdrop to the hotel. So 6 lakhs of hotel area and 17 lakh of corporate office area. That was the comparison between the two. I mean, if one had to juxtapose a tall structure like this in front of a hotel would never have been a hero in this whole setting, because a premium brand like that needs to have its presence felt as one arrives. So that was a sort of a very conscious agenda, which was part of this strategy. So we decided to sort of take the same volume and spread it across horizontally, and just sort of fragment it further so that it can become less intimidating compared to the presence of a hotel. And at the same time, it would provide a wonderful backdrop as one would see this hotel from the streets. So that's how we try to sort of juxtapose these two different uses combined by a large podium in between. So this podium, which is in the middle, it's about 4 acres, which becomes a common sort of a courtyard or a foreground to the hotel and also the public plaza, which can be sort of accessed from the street as well as from the hotel and as well as from the office areas and the retail areas. So this is the binding element which holds the entire development together. Operationally, these are different entities. The hotel and the office areas are two different entities, accessed from two different roads. I won't go too much into the planning of it, but the main road, the airport road, gives access to the office areas, and whereas this other road, which gives access to the hotel areas. So this is a initial render where you could see the entire development. These two are office blocks, which has got about 4 big boys occupying the whole place. We try to disguise the entire volume by clubbing 4 floors together in order to make it more simpler, more easy on the eye, and more palatable when you are on the podium, instead of making it more prominent and intimidating for the users there. So this, when you stand into the podium, this building becomes a nice envelope and a backdrop. Because of the height was restricted to 10 stories, it does not really sort of intimidate you as much compared to other urban developments normally you would see. And this was also possible because the prevailing rules at that time was not allowing us to go any higher. So we had to make best out of the situation nonetheless. Now, this was a render that we had developed, but now because there is a flyover newly introduced, we actually get a view from this level these days. So on the left-hand side is the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and those are office areas at the podium. The podium has some fine dine pavilions and gym and various other activities which are shared by the office people. Named Business Bay. This is a feature wall, which has got a nice water. And this is the solid wall onto which these floating volumes are perched up. The ram going to the podium for fire engine. This is the landscape, which is conceived as a carpet, as you would see from the guest rooms of the hotel. And there's a definite linearity about it. There's a very interesting water garden. This landscape of the podium is designed by Lebanese landscape architect Vladimir Durovic. You may have heard about him. He's been working with Foster, many big names, and we were lucky to have him on board, and it was a wonderful experience working with him on this project. So what Vladimir did, when I was narrating about why and the ghats and how ghats get flooded in the monsoon, and when the monsoon goes away, how the water recedes and the water is again accessible by at a different level. And he sort of contemplated that idea in a completely different manner. And he created this concept for me for this project. So another aspect was the glazing, which is there, has a kind of a mosaic effect with different opacities and different transparencies of the glass in order to achieve that E value, whatever, and that is all after clients sort of, refuse to spend for the second skin, which all architects always strive to have one for. But we nonetheless managed to have that thermal parameter by ceramic fretted glasses. So the facade had to have this mosaic pattern. So Vladimir kind of translated that onto the ground, creating opaque and reflective surfaces, kind of synergizing the whole experience together. And when it gets flooded in the monsoon, some of the areas get submerged, and that's part of the design. And when the monsoon goes away, it comes back for as a pedestrian areas. This is the landscape which is sort of maturing year by year now. This is how you would see it from the hotel side. This is from the podium side, looking towards the hotel, retail and the art gallery area. Actually, that's one entry which you can come out from the hotel lobby, the upper level, podium level lobby. And this is the jungle of bamboo. Some of the glimpses from the podium. On the left-hand side, you have the hotel. The short block has got the spa above and the retail and the art gallery at the podium level. And some of the massing and the entire vocabulary of the built form. The Ritz-Carlton, when we were just doing some ideation, that was the idea, because 7 lakh square feet juxtaposed with 17 lakh, or 6 lakh square feet juxtaposed with 17 lakh, could have been a very interesting proposition if done otherwise, but we wanted to bring it out. We wanted to make the presence of Ritz-Carlton felt as one arrives from the airport, and it had to sort of be on the front corner of the entire development. And as I explained, as you have seen, all the horizontal blocks are going to be the backdrop to that. Some initial sketches to explore that idea, just a frontal elevation, how the overall composition can work out. The hotel is positioned onto the left side. The darker portion is the guest room block, and all the lighter areas are public areas as they are stacked up from ground floor to a certain level. Just to run through quickly on this, the ground floor, you have a banquet, which actually spaces, creates a distance between the guest block and the office towers. Then you have arrival, is a long porch in the lobby, and some alfresco as a extension to the 3-meal kitchen, or the all-day dining area. And this is again spillover for the banquet areas, outdoor function areas. At a podium level, again, you have another junior ballroom, which is number 8, and which can spill out onto another large outdoor function area at the top. And on the right-hand side, there's a Japanese restaurant. It's a alfresco for that as well. There's a pool deck, which has got the spa at the back, gym on the left, saloon on the right, entire pool deck with some nice grills and pool bar, and the long infinity edge pool. Just a exploded section to explain what I was talking about. And in the section, you can see all the typical floors, which is about 12 floors of guest floors, and up to this 8 and 9 level. That's the pool. The pool happens to be right up on top of the porch area. It's a triple height volume for the lobby, and then other areas are sort of stacked in between that volume. So everything up to the podium is all stone clad, like you saw in Waterfronts of Wai, and anything above that, above the podium, is going to be in a lighter material. Either it is composite metal cladding and glass and things. Longitudinal section, just to explain how the volumes are distributed and how you see the development across the street from the golf course or the junction. ID is done by somebody else, but this is just to show how the outdoor areas. We did the landscape for the hotel part of it because Vladimir could not continue because of the time difference. There was a gap between the earlier development and some years went by, and he couldn't continue on the Ritz-Carlton part of it. But we took over as a landscape architect along with Jayant. Sorry. So how the landscape is seen from inside. That's the alfresco of the three-meal restaurant. And this is how the entire space. See, this is a urban it's a very urban hotel, urban property. We were like very constricted for creating all this outdoor function areas, which are huge revenue generation areas. And the whole main challenge was, apart from what Marriott wanted to have as their stipulated program, through meticulous design, we had to sort of carve out some spaces which could be put to use for other spillover activities, which otherwise are not sort of quantified early on, but they add a great value in terms of revenue generation and also experience to the guests. Because you get to see your own property from within the property when you go outside. This is a kind of a sort of view that probably you can enjoy from various levels. This is a pool deck as taken from the top floor. This is a Alta Vida pool bar where you have grills and cocktails. And this is again an afterthought, because it wasn't there in original program, because we sort of ideated with them to create a place like this. Otherwise, they just wanted to have a salads bar because it is on the level where the spa and all the health activities are there. But the evening becomes a different proposition altogether. This is extension of a Japanese restaurant, which is designed by ex-Super Potato architect Sanada-san. And that's the outdoor alfresco area for that. This is something like Zuma wall. And this is a rooftop Asmana bar. And that's the backdrop that the hotel building offers to it. This is a porch at the ground level when the guests arrive. And this is the whole development that you see across the street from other buildings. Thank you.
Sir, I request you to please come back on stage for felicitation. First of all, can we please have a huge round of applause for such a brilliant presentation by Mr. Madhav Joshi. I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Mohit Hajila, Group Head Business Development from Jaguar Group, and Mr. Bibhor Srivastava, Managing Director of ITP Media Group, to kindly come on stage and felicitate Architect Madhav Joshi.
I also invite, just a moment. You know, we are very fortunate to have one of my very dear friends from Singapore, architect Ganesh from Ashton Design. May I request you to join us? Come, give him a round of applause. Ganesh has incredible lineup of work. The JW Golfshire in Bangalore, Imperial Hotel New Delhi, Ananda in the Himalayas, JW Shenzhen Bao in China, the Four Seasons Guangzhou, China. So well done, my friend. Thank you. So we'll borrow you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Moving on, we have yet another interesting brand amongst us, Jaguar Bath and Light. Can we please have the AV? Thank you to the team of Jaguar for that amazing AV. And before we dwell further into the evening, we have a very special message from ICA Pidilite. Can we please have the AV?
The land of passion and desire, land and beauty. Italian designers have forever been to prepare the choice of the global in art. But who do the star designers prepare? Iga is true Italian land presented through a range of luxury wood finishes. Their innovations and their research set them apart as world leaders. Iga now brings Italian women to Indian homes. Question is, does your taste meet the choice of Italy's finest? Iga, Italian wood finish, good taste shows.
I'd now like to invite Mr. Harish Kamath, Sales Head South A from ICA, to kindly come on stage. Okay. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience, but I think we have to wait a little bit for the presentation. So before the ICA presentation, we have another special announcement. I'd like to introduce to all of you the person who helped to form and curate this event by adding some of the most brilliant minds from the design industry to our panels, the NextGen and the Doans Group. An alumni of School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, graduated in 1984, worked as a design coordinator for the Festival of India, New York 2004 on the Golden Eye, an exhibition of Indian products designed by international designers of repute. The designers include Ettore Sostis, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Mario Bellin, Charles Murray, Free Auto, to name a few. Deeply influenced by this experience of micro design, he came back to set up the interior design company, specializing in small, intense projects. Clients during this period included Neeru Kumar, Anita Lal, Ritu Kumar, Fab India, Anokhi, amongst others. In 1988, he was commissioned by Mr. Joseph Allenstein, the architect of the building of corporate office for Escorts Limited in Faridabad, to design the interiors of this 1,000 square foot facility. He established his firm J.R. Plessy in Delhi and later in 2010 moved to Gurgaon. He specializes in built-to-suit facilities, espousing a philosophy of designing buildings inside out, and believes that it is an architect's responsibility to reduce consumption, whether they're rated or not. His recent projects include platinum-rated 350,000 square foot facility for Star TV India and 150,000 of square foot of Star Sports, both in Mumbai. He had designed and launched 2 tables at the Milan Fest in 2022, and currently he practices architecture in Goa. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the curator of the evening, Architect Jyoti Rath, Principal Architect from Jyoti Rath Affiliates LLP. Sir, can we please have you on stage? Welcome to the show, sir.
You. Very humbled to be here. It's such a august gathering. There are friends whose work I have known but never met. Good to meet you, Kapil. So when I was asked to curate this, I realized that I come from a time where we did not debate this topic at all. I'll explain. We had concrete. We had exposed brick, we had plaster, we had terrazzo flooring, marble flooring, steel windows. I think no matter which architect worked, the cost of the building was the same, right? So the quality of the aesthetic was the driving notion of the architectural practice. So if Stein could do a better building, I mean, then obviously he got the commission, or whether it was Kulbhushan Jain, or it was all to do with the choice of the architect was the aesthetic. Well, pause. That movie got over some time ago. We have a new movie on today, driven by the internet, driven by access to information, a huge flattening of the gap between the knowledge the aesthetic driver had and the aesthetic consumer who controlled the economics. That's really the conundrum that we sit in today. That the accessibility to information has emaciated us, right? So really, how is this conundrum really to be solved? And for that, I think let's play a game of dumb charades. Aesthetics. Let's redefine that. And then we'll define economics, and then let's bring them back together, because I think you cannot really discuss this together. You need to understand each on its own, understand its power, its role, why even aesthetics is important, right? If you don't understand the importance of aesthetics, you cannot put an economic value to it, right? Or if you drive it the other way and you put an economic value to it, I think you can define an aesthetics that meets that economic value. I mean, it's capital versus the story, but you need to pick one story, right, at a time. So I'm not going to take too much time. But I must say one thing. I spent 35 years working, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. It's been a fantastic journey. I've really enjoyed it. I hung up my boots last year. I have a few legacy projects, but I mean, not hung up my boots. I now wear slippers, right? I've come to Goa. Boots are too hot. But more than that, so one of the biggest things that always, I think, trouble every practicing architect here is no freedom to work, right? And I want to just touch upon one small topic, and I hope you will remember this. For freedom to work, you must take economic responsibility. If you learn to take economic responsibility, you'll get freedom to work. So what happened in my life, and I think the pandemic was a beautiful thing for me. I'm sorry for all the people who didn't have a nice time, but it made me realize I didn't want to practice anymore. I didn't want to catch flights twice a week to Chennai or Mumbai or wherever I was going. It also strangely landed up with a situation where I happened to meet somebody and we had a chat. And he said, let's do something. So I said, okay, I'll accept one client. So I have one client who funds my architectural practice of 3 people, and I build only for that client. And I really go back to the time I started practicing, and all of you who are young enough to be practicing now, you are the architect, you are the draftsman, you are the supervisor, you check the bills, you sign the paper, and the client pays, right? This is what we did. And I'm doing that again. I'm back to my youngest days of being an architect. The only difference is, I think I make a little more money than I did then. So if that's, we can start the QA session. We can start discussing it. Rita, I don't know, apparently you were at Steins. Which year? 1990, yeah. Okay, so I got discovered by Stein a little later. Really, that's an interesting story. You know, it's a story I must share. I don't think I'd be standing here today without that man. So it's early one morning. It's about 7:30 in the morning, and the phone rings in my house. Those days, you know, there were those brick phones that you turned over, and when you had them, you thought you were wealthy, right? And mine had been chewed up by my dog. It rings. I pick it up, and the voice on the other side says, "You don't know me. My name is Joseph Allenstein. Phone to haath se gir gaya." Anyway, I picked it up, and he invited me for a cup of coffee to IIC and said he'd seen a very small project I'd done for Anokhi. And therein began a career of 35 years of building office interiors. God bless that man. All right, over to you, Sherry. Should I start the Q&A session? Really? I want to know how to do anything with that thing.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And I'd like to invite Mr. Sumed Nayak, Chairman Triple ID from Goa chapter, Mr. Indrajit Sauji, Group Publishing Director, ITP Media Group, and Mr. Viresh Malan, Chief of Sales from ICA Pidilite, to please come on stage and felicitate our dear curator. Okay. So I'm so sorry. Before we begin with the Doan's panel discussion, I request the hotel team to please set the stage. And now, as announced, we move on to the most awaited part of the evening, our panel discussions. Kicking off, we begin with the much awaited Doyen's panel discussion, one we all have been waiting for with bated breath. So once again, I'd like to invite Architect Jyoti Rath, Principal Architect Jyoti Rath Affiliates LLP, to commence the Doyen's panel discussion. Everyone, please welcome him back again on stage. Sir, I request you to kindly invite our panelists and kick off the debate.
No,
Okay.
I'll get the spellings wrong.
Okay, no problem. Okay. No, my pleasure. So I'd like to invite the esteemed Doyen panel discussion, starting Architect Anup Gadgil, founder of Orchid Design Group. Can we please have you on stage, sir? Architect Ashwini Kumar Prabhu, Principal Architect, Studio Archetype. Architect Kapil Gupta, co-founder and Principal Architect, Siri Architects. Architect Rahul Deshpande, Principal Architect and Structural Engineer from Rahul Deshpande and Associates. Architect Rahul Sardesai, Design Head of Ateliers RS. Architect Vikrant TK, Co-founder and Creative Director of Studio Amita Vikrant, SAV. And last but not the least, Architect Yogesh A.T. Pednekar, founder of AYD, Architect Yogesh Designs. I welcome you all on stage.
Whoever doesn't answer the right way,
Thank you so much, sir. Now I now leave the forum to you.
All right. Like I promised, we're going to play dumb charades. We're going to take this two words, break them apart. And I have I think we're short of time, so I'm going to make it into one question into three that I would normally do. Aesthetics. I just want a quick opinion on whether it's universal, contextual, local, personal, client-driven. What's your position on it? Who defines it?
Yeah, so I think aesthetics, I think is all of that, what you said, in a sense that yes, there's context. We talk about form, we talk about shape, we talk about materials. It's client driven because it's the client is like a patron, like wherein he commissions the project. So of course his brief, his project brief is very important. That drives it. And then there is economics. I mean, what we're talking about aesthetics. I wouldn't say versus, not necessarily, but aesthetics and economics. So yes, so economics also drives it. So yeah.
Sorry, I do recognize that. I'm actually looking at your, okay, let's rewind and rephrase that question. What would you, of the options, what would you like, which part of this would you like to drive the aesthetic of something you design? I mean, let me really load the question. Personal, client, just pick one. Like no two picks, one pick.
I think for me, it's the context.
Okay.
I think it's universal.
All right. I didn't give that option. It wasn't there in the list.
As your first option.
Okay.
Yeah, I also feel that it should be context driven.
Okay.
Well, I'm still scratching my head about this, but you're constantly negotiating this. And what lies within the disciplinary knowledge of architecture is fundamentally a certain view to what aesthetics is, whether it's space, proportion, everything that lies within the construct of, how we think about space. It's completely contextual in that sense, absolutely. It's also universal. But the point always to me, and maybe what I'd like to come back to, is it's a frame of reference.
The question was, I guess it's personal or it's...
No, I'm saying what I'm actually looking for is the you in you, which means ideally, what would you like to have drive the aesthetic? Because you are working on it and it'll be different. I mean, the truth is that each of us, given the same problem, will come up with, I'm not even worried about the solution. If I restricted it to a 1 room plus 1 toilet, the solution will be very similar. But I'm questioning, since the topic is about the aesthetics, what would you like to drive the aesthetics? Is the question, because it's really about you.
I guess something that would satisfy me and my client both, a combination of.
All right.
Two.
Okay.
For me, it's as far as, what I've been doing over the last few years, it's all about client. What my client wants, I will give it to him to the best of my ability. And if in that I can include a little bit of this and that, it helps.
Right.
It's more,
I think
Yeah, can you hear?
Yep.
So for me, it's subjective, firstly. Like my mother might not like my work, I do. So, and personally, aesthetic for me, like in architecture, is sexy. It needs to look good, needs to feel good. It should be provoking, so that's what the studio is always working towards.
I have a word for you.
Please.
It's problem solving.
Yeah, let's stay with the word aesthetic, right? And I think we've heard some interesting things, and I feel that our thought process of aesthetics is a resultant of multiple things, and I'm not even, it's the reason for the choice. And I think there's an interesting debate there that, what do you think, and I'll take the question back, what do you think has driven your aesthetic, right? I mean, we saw Mr. Joshi's work, and I can see his aesthetic. His aesthetic is driven by that pencil line, and it's purely an architectural line that is straight and yet never straight. It's a neural issue that we have with the way we draw, but it also that begins to define an aesthetic, because that's the way we draw and that's the way we think. So what drives your aesthetic? Firstly, the choice of aesthetic, and then if let's say, okay, let's take a simple example. The current project you're doing, what is driving the aesthetic?
Right. So yeah, as I said, context for me is very, very important. Now, this is something
Give
which
me a
has
quick
yeah,
example.
So,
I think people
so-
would love to hear that.
Of course. So I'm doing an agro-ecotourism project,
Right.
which is in the hinterland. It's around 3 lakh square meters of land, and this is something where where agriculture is already a prevalent activity. And what we are trying to do is convince the client about, or rather, working on a project wherein we are supplementing the activity of tourism, but in a way wherein agriculture and ecology takes the primary role, and tourism is just a additional activity which just sort of makes it viable. Now, for something like this, when I propose the structures, now first of all, it's a master planning exercise wherein it's not really structure driven. It's about how I master plan the entire 3 lakh square meters, and in which we plan agriculture, ecological activities, etc. But when I do get to the point of designing the structures, for me, the context is very important in terms of how the place works, the culture of the place, how the people work there, whether it's the farmers or the workers there. And in terms of that architecture, which I devised for this particular place, the context for me is very, very supremely important. So whether it's the materiality, whether it's the use of the design language, so how we pick up the design language from the surrounding structures in the prevalence architecture there. So in that sense, I think context, it's highly context driven. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'm not framing the questions right. Materiality in your aesthetic. I mean, tell me, will materiality drive your aesthetic?
I think it's in a way the other way. In a sense, I recognize there is a certain aesthetic I'm visualizing for this space or for this structure, and then I look at what materials are available to me. Now, what is available to me, I will try to see resources which are more easily available, because that for me is a much more viable alternative, and I feel a much more sensible one. And that's how I will pick on the.
Okay. Maybe we should move the question. So just share with the audience the aesthetic of what you're working on right now. Just we can quickly run through that. And let's try and distill it. See, because the idea here is not to go through the process, but to say, yeah, this is the project, this is what I'm doing, right? I mean, so it's, look, we all understand context, client. I mean, there's no doubt we've been through this conundrum, all of us, for years. Just share with all our friends here that what is driving the aesthetic of what keeps you awake today.
Sure. I think it's the answer is not as straightforward that this is the project and this is what I'm doing, because for a very simple reason. As of today, probably all of us would be having 10 different projects with 10 different costs and 10 different client briefs, right? Some would say that, Mr. whoever designer, this is my cost, this is the budget that I have in mind. Okay. And can you give me a design? Right? Most of them are coming to us, designers, whether architects, interior designers, knowing that they're coming to us for the aesthetics. Right? Now, in that context, if there is someone who comes to me and says, I want a particular product in a particular price, then it's my role to see how do I choose the material and explore the quality of that material. And I'm here talking about material in terms of the costs as well. Okay, to deliver in that budget or in that cost, right? So if someone who comes and says that, my budget or my cost is higher, it just increases my palette of material selection.
We haven't gotten there. We can come to that one.
Yeah.
That's the other half of the dumb charades.
So I would put it that way.
Okay, fair enough.
Let me, instead of going at what I'm working right now, there are multiple projects where we have different approaches based on what
I was looking at your favorite project, right?
Yeah, that's what. So that's what I would come to. Let him speak about a project which excites me, what is going on. We are doing a building to say it's a redevelopment project in Mapsa city for the government. It's a urban scale project, which is more of a commercial building, but we are treating it differently. The way we enjoy to do things is work from inside out. I like volumes basically in the interiors. So there we have created spaces which are like terraces, which are intermingling. You can see from top to bottom at various levels, all covered with a tensile fabric from the top. So we have got these kind of space, and the same aesthetics reflects in the exteriors of the building. So we basically, when I look at things, I look at it more from inside out. And then whichever material is apt for that, we go with that material.
Okay. Kapil?
Okay, I'm going to be a little bit more theoretical, so to speak, because that's the only way I know how to answer the question. So I think our work is fundamentally driven by a certain view of history. You kind of go back to Aldo Rossi, and usually where he actually problematizes the relationship between modernism and the historical city, which is also why modernism kind of faded, because it couldn't resolve that problem. So our work fundamentally looks at history. And how does one look at history in a way where you can have a kind of continuity between past and present and projections into the future? So what do I mean by that? The point really is that rather than just building buildings that are completely alien within a given context, how do you begin to excavate and look at what we call the deep structures that are embedded within historical organizations, either in the fabric of the building or in exceptional monuments? So let me contextualize this. The project that we did at the Tote at the Mahalakshmi Racecourse, maybe you'll recognize these kind of steel trees. It was an old colonial institution, and our relationship to our colonial history has been very ambivalent. Either it's been complete erasure, or it's been extremely paranoid kind of conservation. So the question really was that this project could it provide an opportunity to reframe our relationship to our colonial legacy, but also drive in a certain sense, a certain imagination that the site offered with these magnificent rain trees.
Yeah, and it's very beautiful.
Yeah, so the idea really was that could the tree in a certain sense not just become a kind of an actual metaphor, but could, we essentially looked at the old Victorian trusses in VT Station. So by reimagining those basically trusses as trees, one is you had a project which almost allowed for that experience of being under the shade of those trees into the building itself, but also allowed us to reimagine a kind of new colonial interface, right? So it kind of spoke of history, and at the same time, it was a new imagination. And I think one of the nicest things that someone ever said was that when they walked into that building, it said it felt like that these were always there. So I think that's that moment where you have newness, but you have also a familiarity. So a certain project that seeks what I would call common ground. And I think the aesthetic, if anything else, emerges and evolves out of that.
No, quite well done. Actually, the drinks taste wonderful under those trees.
And no matter which project I'm working on, drives that it needs to be striking, bold, sensual, and timeless, no matter which project it is. And importantly, that it should strike it should resonate emotionally to the person who sees it, or who's experiencing it, me or the client or anyone who watches it, or experiences the building. Right. So that's my take.
Lovely.
I'd like to talk about two contrasting projects which I'm doing.
Super.
One is a villa. I'm very fond of it because the client, it's a small, when I call it small, it's about 4,500 square feet. And my client wanted to have a very earthy feel and blah, blah, blah. He spoke about Goa. I said, historically, Goan houses have been of mud. So he said, let's do it in mud. So we're doing a 3-story villa in mud, and we are exploring all the possible aspects as to how we can do it without using concrete. So that is one project. So like why I said my client drives a lot of my projects is because if they agree to my ideas or my suggestions, then it gives me a little bit of impetus. to, do it better. And there's another project. It's like a lot of resorts which we do along the CRZ. It's again in the CRZ. So the client said it's again a similar kind of project where we are doing a lot of small things. There's farming happening there. And so we are taking in we are using the local people to do our cottages, to do our landscape, to do even our plantation. Everything is with the help of the local people there. And my client has luckily been very accepting, and hopefully it turns out to be a good example.
I'm sure it will.
For us, I mean, any project we take, we are doing master plans of villas, offices. But the main thing that I think drives the whole situation is a brief. Like, we like to shape the brief. We like to challenge the brief which comes from the client. We also take it as an opportunity to explore what we want to explore, like sometimes computational, sometimes contract, how we will shape the building.
Right.
Context, as we say, but for me, more than context, it's a culture, like context can be very random. Like we say Goa villa, and around your plot, there are 50 other villas. So there's
right. I'm just wondering, listening to you, whether we're going to get a new aesthetic in Asagaon in a while.
Yeah, and sometimes you are in Bombay.
Be full of Delhiites.
Yeah, in Bombay, it's dense and there's no views, but then the apartment is on the 50th floor and you have the greatest views. So context, I think, is a very ambiguous term, or taking like local people. For me, it's absurd sometimes because
Anyway, there were no local people. The work was done by people from outside Goa.
Yeah,
we know that.
and Goa, there are
nobody
there.
works.
Yeah, so
I mean, actually, Tradecraft did. Was very low.
You said crap?
Most of them, I don't. agree.
I disagree. Some of the best artisans that you find in Goa, you have not used Goan artisans, that means. Please don't patronize Delhi people.
Great. I love this. Will you share that? Will you share that with everybody? I think they all need to know, seriously, because it's very tough to find.
Yes.
I found Martin who does
roofs. I agree.
Right. I found Martin
in
who
my
does
initial
roofs,
years.
but I think he drinks more Fenny than roofs that he builds.
I think
that's a problem.
See, it's also
Don't patronize. No, I disagree.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. It's also what you do. It's what you do, right, as a designer.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. So
okay. Let's we're really short of time. I want to ask. Sorry. Okay. I will give you both the mics. But right now, let's do one thing. I want to ask a question. Anybody been to the Mapsa police station?
I have been. I hate it.
I think it's a beautiful building. I'd rather have that than Pato.
I go for our passports and visas and extend. And
what a lovely place. I think anybody who gets a chance, find a way to get really as a building, as a space, the way verandas are used, it's really fantastic. Goa has this lovely breeze, right? It's the only office building I know that uses the breeze. And I look at Pato and I say, what happened here? Right. Here's an aesthetic. I just raised an aesthetic issue. There's also a very nice building in Mapsa, which is that women's center. It's a new building. When you're coming from under the bridge towards, there's a women's center building on the right-hand side before the garbage dump. On the Vodafone building? No? Okay. TCP, I think everybody knows. Okay, let's walk back 100 meters and look right. Okay, that's where it is. All right. So no, I'm really concerned because we talk about context, and I'm not seeing so much context happening. You're seeing very little context. You're beginning to see concrete roofs. You're beginning to see, no one's even doing interesting columns. I don't know what your theory on the columns of Goa is. I mean, where did the columns come from? Anybody just have an idea? I mean, I have a theory on it. I don't have empirical data. I have a theory on it.
It's more to do with the reflection of time, right? Like when you say columns in Goa.
No, I'm talking about the columns outside the buildings.
I know, but do you refer to the Portuguese architecture in that period, in that era?
I'm asking, what do you think?
So what do we think? I mean, I love ornamentation. There's nothing wrong about it.
No. I'm not making a I have no viewpoint on it. I'm just asking that where do you think, I have a theory and I want to quickly hold this and we'll move to the economics. And Kapil wants to run because he doesn't like economics, you know, it's put too much
Yeah,
pressure on his
really
design.
I have
Right.
I have a friend who's opening their
Okay.
restaurant right now. So guys, I'm sorry.
So, you know, I have a theory on this that I think as the ship sailed down to Kochi and they saw the columns, hey, yeah, we'll catch up here. You know, and they sailed back, then they said, these are very nice things. And I think transposition of design across regions is quite natural. We didn't drink tea, then we started drinking tea. You can't think of Goa without potatoes. 100 years ago, there were no potatoes in this country. Quite right. Anyway, so let's move to the second part of the dumb charades, which is economics, right? Do you feel, we'll start with you this time, right? Because you're always last. So do you feel that you feel an economic pressure in doing what you wish to do?
I think it's a kind of a game, right? Clients come to us, we somehow convince them, yeah, we can do it within these budgets. We actually believe in those things, right? Like a kid. But we never really take a pressure. If someone comes, something that we know cannot be achieved, and most of the projects we are doing are private homes. So for us, it is a priority, like it is your house. I'm not going to have a sleepless night to match your budgets. So economic pressure is not something we would like to conclude because, see, for us, also architects here are important, designers, planners, contractors, consultants, you know, and it's my experience, any good consultant or contractors or artisan, I think they cost, you know. And
yeah, we're the smallest people in the totem pole. Yeah, everybody makes more money than us, right? So
I think we charge the most, and I think it's a huge industry. There's a lot of money, so it just they're not treated well. So that's why we always opt for good people, good consultant cost, and in that case, then start the negotiations constantly. So I'm okay with that. We are still trying to find a balance between economics and what we create with regards to that.
okay, let me pause this because I think let's make it. Let me load this question a little heavier. Does the client determine the budget or do you?
We do. The client determines how much they have, but they cannot determine the budget.
No, I'm coming to that. I mean, we'll come to that. That's the next question. In your case, do you?
Yes, we determine the
You
budget.
determine the budget. So
it varies from client to client. I mean, by and large, if the client says this is my budget, we work with it. There's no pressure. And it's always good that we work within a parameter, that we know what our limits are. And to me, for good aesthetics, it does not mean there has to be a better budget or whatever. You just work within it. That's the brief, that's the account, that's what I have. I work within it. It's no pressure at all.
Yeah, it varies from project to project. There are certain projects where the client has a certain budget in mind, and then we do our best to be within that. Not successfully always, but we do try. And there are other times when we have a free hand in determining, understanding the client's requirements, and then putting forward a budget of what it would be basically to do that.
Okay. So
I think it is, we work with the client's budget. And many times you also try to sensitize the client and tell him that, you know, for the next thing, if we can afford and increase the budget, or sometimes we even say decrease the budget. You know, so we do give our advice on what is fair for a particular product. But yes, you have to value the client's budget.
So
yeah, so of course, I mean, the client's budget is important. It's part of the project brief. But there's a very conscious step that I follow is to make the client realize the potential of that particular project or the property or whatever it is. And based on the potential, I believe in valuing the project to a figure and then make the client realize whether he's undervaluing it or overvaluing it. Because many times I've come across situations wherein clients presume that my project should be so and so of this scale because I feel this is going to do well. But that's with his limited knowledge. We as professionals have a certain knowledge to share. And we use that knowledge to then sensitize the client. Okay, look, yes, you're visualizing in so and so way, but we feel these are the parameters that you should also consider. There is so much more potential available. Why don't you increase the budget? If it doesn't,
Let me ask another loaded question. In your experience, and we'll go with a yes, no on this one. If I built a 3,500 square feet house of 4 bedrooms, blah, 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 on 500 square meters of land, will the cost be the same? And if you did it on multiple projects. Okay, let's start with a yes, no, then we'll come to why not.
No.
No. You're trying to say that this could be built anywhere and the cost could be different? What's the variation?
Because I'm asking a question. There's a client with a requirement and he has a particular size of land, right?
Same brief for
Yeah.
all over. Same brief, same land.
Yeah.
Okay. So will the cost be?
Yeah. Suppose I came to you and I said, I want to build this building, and someone else came to you and said, I want to make this building of this type. Will the cost be different?
No, it won't be the same. So in my opinion, it won't be the same. If there are three different clients coming to me with the same size of the plot, but the brief would be different.
No, I'm saying they said, I've got one daughter, one son, and my mother comes in. That's the kind of brief we get, right? When we get a brief from a client.
Right.
And I have a dog and, I want this. I mean, so I'm not understanding why is there a difference in cost?
Oh, so the brief is exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Then there shouldn't be much greater variation. It could be in and around 10%. If the brief is exactly the same, the plot is the same.
Right.
Yes, if the brief is the same, then there should not be generally much variation in cost, but that seldom happens. There are certain things, each client is different, and that is where, as when I say context initially, the client is also in context. So each client has a different set of, you couldn't say it in terms of number of rooms and other things, but immeasurable
I'm
things.
putting it down on a spreadsheet across 15 columns with the same brief. I'm trying to just scientifically look at this.
If we look at it mathematically, yes, but that seldom happens in our.
Okay, we'll conclude on something.
I mean, if you keep all the variables the same, then the cost will be the same. If you change the variables, the cost will change.
Yeah, I think slight variation.
Okay, how slight?
Difficult. I mean, since the variables, as you said, I mean, the variables are the same.
Trying to get you. Give me an answer. I have two observations. I think we're running out of time, so I'm going to try and wrap this up, and we can have a quick discussion on that. Listening to all of you, right? Therefore, is there a possibility, and I will say this a couple of times, and then we can have a last discussion on this. Therefore, if there is, but the truth is that it's never the same cost, right? It's never the same cost because of the difference in aesthetic. Is that a valid argument?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think brief too, no, not aesthetic.
Is it also a valid argument that it is because we are different? Yeah. I mean, so if you did a building and he did a building and he did a building, I think we should expect.
Yeah, completely.
Right. So when we come back. Hello? Yeah, so I'm just kind of curious, and I've thought this whole thing through. So we architects are fighting for the right to aesthetics, right? But the aesthetic and we are the problem, which brings up the conflict between economics and aesthetics. So I'm just kind of curious about this topic, right? Was that too much of a circular equation? Can I explain it?
I think it's taste, right? It's about taste. Like you're buying a car, you go to different showrooms, there are different prices.
Right. So that means getting the same solution from a different architect, I should get ready for a different economic parameter. Okay. Right, because it makes it interesting. So I think what I'd like to kind of, if it's okay, we can wind up this session, that it is, there is no conflict. It is really we, and it's for us to manage the economics, because none of us can do the same work at the same price.
Yes, also the specifications and the materiality which we are talking about varies from client to client.
So materiality, we discussed this before, that materiality is a parameter of aesthetic.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. It is a economic driver, right? So I think what I'm looking at is this existed, that, you know, if I went to a Zaha Hadid, I expect to sell my half my country, you know, otherwise I can't get a building done from her, because that's what a building costs, right? And I think I'm looking for that. The conflict will end when it becomes established that if I like this architect's aesthetic, I must expect to pay this price, right? And I think that makes it very easy, and there is no conflict in the relationship between the client and the architect. It's the lack of this information, because, you know, it's like, oh, you must meet this friend of mine. He's an architect. He's very talented. So someone comes to you. Sorry, I'm being, you know, especially when you were 15 years younger, that was the story, right? But I think this profession needs.
We might be same age. I don't know.
Sorry?
We might be same age. I started 15 years later. I started 15 years later.
I just would like to
yeah, please
pitch in. Your argument holds good if the cost is not a variable. In the sense, what you're trying to say is this argument holds good, in my opinion, only if the cost is not a consideration. So you go to every architect will have a style, and he'll depend.
I promise you, every client, when they tell you their budget, they are lying.
No,
okay, that's the truth.
The bottom line is for us.
They've got 3 other pockets down there. They're not letting you know. They're not letting you know because they think that anyway he's going to get it, right?
No, that was not the point. What you said was that if you go to a designer or an A architect, then you should expect a certain kind of price or a cost that the project would entail, which I don't agree on, because in case I have to design for someone who has got a very limited budget, I go to rise to the occasion and do it as good as I would do for a client who's got money. Otherwise, I don't think that will fit.
I agree. I completely agree. And I must share with you that I have practiced for 35 years on a 3-finger principle. Okay. Great client, great project, great fees. Minimum 2 fingers have to be up. Right? Great client, great project, bad fees will do. Great client, great project, I'm sorry, great project, great money, bad client also will do. But do to khade hone chahiye. Otherwise, no chance. So that conflict is a choice that you make, right? There are times where maybe you need to tell the client that maybe I really don't want to work with, you know, mud floors. Maybe I don't know, you know, and there's so many things. Just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you can do a kidney transplant, you know. So we such generalists, you know, that's the big danger in what happens. But when you become a specialist, you're very accurate. You know that. So in my practice, I used to do very large scale office interiors, and they were large, meaning they were like 3 lakh, 5 lakh square feet, right? And we had contracts where if we deviated more than 5%, you could lose part of your fees. So how do you do it? Right? Then the conflict didn't exist, right? Because the budget was frozen. So there are many, so like you said, like I think you raised the point that if someone had a budget, do you have the skill set to do it? Right? Those are the questions. So I kind of feel that if the profession would either make a statement that this is how much I can work with, but I'm also started the question about your aesthetic, because that's your comfort zone. And that comfort zone needs that budget to work. You're happy there. I don't think you do great work when you're unhappy.
No, I think I would, when you say that every client is lying when they tell you about their budget, I totally disagree with you.
I'm kidding. I'm saying that
it's-
as
there
in
are very
jest.
genuine clients who have a very genuine budget. And as architects, I think it's our duty to be able to accommodate that budget and give them an aesthetically pleasing house or whatever it is. So I think we also should be careful when we make statements, that every client is lying. I think that comes from a very elitist kind of experience. But which,
Yes, that the fact is that the budgets are unknown. Tell me truly, how many projects have gone over budget and it's been okay, right? So this is a part of the truth, right? I'm asking the question that in a more balanced situation, does this conflict even need to exist?
I do not think it exists. It should not be aesthetic versus economics. Aesthetics should not be held hostage to economics. Whatever the economics of the projects are, it is our duty to give aesthetic solutions to the project. I think we should do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we all agree on that. Otherwise, we would be very snobbish that you come to me only in case you got so much of budget. That I would find that very snobbish. So
maybe you have a range.
I think
we all should. We should have the range to accommodate. I think that's my feeling, and that's what I've been doing.
My intention of this was to actually raise the point that there is the conflict is. I think the conflict is overrated. As long as we are conscious that this conflict does not need to exist, and that we are honest to ourselves that we are happy working within this budget, and that client is happy working within the aesthetic. And I was more concerned about the ability to communicate with the client, and did not want to raise the point that this is my rate card. Dusre se le lo. That was not my point. Right? The point was more about saying that this is my comfort zone, and most clients come to you because they've seen something, and there was a price to that, right? And you put in your heart and soul into building that at that price. You control the cost. You did everything. Now, if he says, I really love that place, but I have half the budget, is where the conflict would start coming. Those are my concerns.
Yeah, I think for us, it's a minimum fees. So it's nothing to do with your budget.
Our fees are so low, yeah, forget it.
Mine are not really, but
really?
Most of the people say they are high. Maybe I think it's high, but I have to be fair. So your budget can be low or high, but it shouldn't defect our fees. That's what it's all about, right? We have opened the shop.
Okay, I mean, that's also a valid viewpoint. It's like going in for a haircut irrespective of how much hair you have. Sorry.
If there is an unrealistic budget, that's another issue.
Listen, I'm kidding. Come on. Thanks, guys. If anybody has anything specific that you want to share with the audience, anybody from the audience who wants to, add value to this discussion.
I have a question to Vikrant. Vikrant, do you think you become more responsible with a client who has a defined budget, or to a client who has an unlimited budget?
See, in my team, in my role, I think it's the responsibilities towards the team. Client is a part of a project. Client is not a client. So when client talks about budgets only, I have to make sure. Hello? Yeah. So if clients talk about the budgets, we do not move our ship towards what they are saying. It's a part of the entire network system, right? They're contractors, as I said, vendors, there's a person who's making coffee in the team, like this is mostly me in my team, but whoever, Shaiwala, like anybody, right? And so it's so holistic. So it's nothing to do with an individual. So whenever we have conflicts, I always tell clients, don't get involved in what we are doing. Your job is to go get money. That's their job. So it makes it very easier for us and for them, like how we negotiate.
Is there something like a collective consciousness that is coming, conscious luxury that is emanated post-COVID?
Can you rephrase?
Is there something like collective consciousness around conscious luxury? Is conscious luxury coming into a perspective, particularly post-COVID?
I think see, people know, they just believe, they ignore what the fact is. You know? They know what's happening. So that is the moment you start to question all these things. When they deny, they're in denial, right? Clients are in denial sometimes. We have to show them the card, like, hey, that's not reality. This is reality. And so they follow. That's what it is. Or you pull the plug. No?
Anybody in the back?
Great. I mean, I'm glad that someone's carrying the baton.
Anybody in the back want to ask? All right. To the lady first.
It has always been known that women are the best jugglers of aesthetics and economics. It would have simplified this whole discussion had there been at least one lady from this audience up there.
This was a surprise one, and
I can't take responsibility for that one.
yeah, Jyoti, and I think all my team members should take a note. I think we've run out of time, so Sheraz, go ahead.
Anyway, thanks everybody. I really have to say one thing after 35 years of practicing. Great projects require incredible clients. Thank you, clients.
Thank you so much, everyone. I request all of you all to please stay back on the stage. So please stay back. First of all, thank you so much for this brilliant session. And that wraps up our Doyens panel discussion. And what an absolutely thrilling session this was. I would now like to invite Mr. Gaurav Apte, General Manager, Marriott Goa, Mr. Mohit Hajila, Group Head Business Development from Jaguar Group, and Mr. Viresh Malan, Chief of Sales from ICA, to felicitate our esteemed Doyens panel. Can we please have you all on stage? Okay, I'd like Mr. Anup Gadgil to please come forward for the felicitation. Architect Ashwini Kumar Prabhu. Architect Rahul Deshpande. Architect Rahul Sardesai. Architect Vikrant TK. And architect Yogi Shetty Pednekar.
Can I just say something? Yeah, thank you very much. Just to make a small correction in the announcement, I'm not an architect, I'm a structural engineer. Just for the clarification.
Your answers were so balanced. I really held myself back to say that.
I'd like to invite our directors for the group picture.
Just step forward.
I don't know why, but I'm tempted to say I really enjoyed this panel. Jyoti, it was really very nice. What a Sudhudar. So give him a hand. I think he really stirred, and I think we must come back to Goa in the Jeet again to continue this discussion. And for me, it is halved somewhere. And I think we would like to see the finish and the finale somewhere. Right.
Thank you, Vibhor sir. And before we move on ahead, I'd request the hotel team to kindly clear the stage. So continuing where we left from, a very special and a very magnificent brand, ICA Pidilite. We saw the AV, but I request the team to play the AV once again. That was a beautiful AV. Now to continue further, I'd like to invite Mr. Vikas Mahajan, Regional Manager West from ICA Pidilite, to kindly come on stage and present about this incredible brand. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So I will take you through the journey of ICA Pidilite so far and where we stand, what are the USP, what are the product range, and any question, any query, I would love to attend with my team on our gallery. This is a small ad from ICA Pidilite. So eco-friendly wood coatings. So in the next slide, I will discuss about the company profile. It's ICA Pidilite is a joint venture between ICA and Pidilite. ICA belongs to Italy and it is a 53-year-old company in the system. So we are a global leaders in wood finishes. So we are having subsidiaries in Germany, Spain, Poland, China, and doing export to more than 50 countries. So if I talk about Indian market, we are having a presence of 2,000 plus dealers in all over India. So, the question sometime people will ask your consumer customers. In fact, it is for all the stakeholders. People ask why ICA? I have discussed that we are 53 years old company and the product which we are going to see there in our gallery, they are having a backing of 53 years of experience. So now, as an ICA, we spend heavily on R&D. That is the main USP which we are having. Because as an ICA, we use this such platforms to discuss with you, to understand the need of products, what market need. So we also challenge our limits when we interact with you people and the suggestions are coming from your side. Okay, we need this kind of product. This kind of product is a need of the market. So we will go to our R&D. Our R&D people will try to develop that product. And whatever product we are displaying here is all on the feedback of all stakeholders. And this is a need of market as well. So we always invest huge on R&D and technology, and that is the main reason why ICA Legacy is there from last 53 years, and we are a global leader in wood coating market. So we have a dedicated client representative. So here also, you will see we are having a team who is attending all the queries of all stakeholders like contractors, architects, interior designers, be it dealers as well. So we are having a good set of sales team, BDE team to attend the queries of architects, interior designers, and the sales team who will take queries of dealers and contractors. So another part where ICA, we always strongly believe that the skill development, we are having 3 booths in Mumbai and all over India, we are having a paint booths where we always try to, train all the contractors, related stakeholders, whosoever needs some trainings, like once we are interacting with you, you always say, this is the product. So, but we don't have a person who have skill to do this product. So that is where we have invested a lot. So wherever, the person need a training, we are having a training centers there. And we regularly, conduct the meetings and trainings over there. So on-site sampling is one of the part. Sales and technical support, we are having a technical team as well. So let me take you through the quickly from this product range sides. So Fineza is a PU finish. In PU finish, we are having our ranges are different kind of ranges. PU we categorized into 2 categories. It's a Indian PU and Italian range. So in Italian range, we are the market leader here in India also, thanks to all the stakeholders. So we are having, the white sheen range is there in PU as well. PU is having an acrylic finish. We are having a clear finish. And PU colors also, we are having a 2,300 plus colors in PU category. So we are having a metallics in PU finish as well. So now, the market is going towards matte a lot, but, gloss lovers are still exist. So big cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, Calcutta, Delhi, gloss lovers are there. So when we discussing gloss, it can be complete without talking polyester. So polyester we are a market leader, undisputedly a market leader in this category as well. So we are having a range. It's a high gloss product, anti-scratch, vertical operations are there. And we are having a 800 plus colors in this category also. And we call this category as a Lucido. So then we are having a Creativa, that is a product of your kitty actually. So where you can implement your innovative and creative mind. So this is basically we can call it as a texture finish. We can call it as a designer finish. So we are having in Creativa and special effects, we are having metal coat, we are having pearl finish, we are having rock, marble, prismatic. So then we are having a glass paints also. Glass paint itself is having again a clear ranges, pigmented ranges, metallics and special effects. You can implement special effects on glass as well. So wide range of products ICA is providing here in India now. So Tinte is the stains. We are having a 17 plus primary shades in stains where you can mix up, add on all the stains and make different kind of colors also. We are having solvent based and water based, both kind of stains are there. So the next product is a very, a good product, which is very close to my heart as well. It is Aquabella. It's a water-based finish. Now it is what I can say. It is a futuristic range, which we have designed for low VOC and odor. Open pore application is there. Wide chin range is there. All surface for all surfaces. So we will discuss about water-based finish more and in the next slide. So Aquabella full home solution. Why we are calling a full home solution now? That you will come to know in the next slides also. So this is, we are a pioneer in eco-friendly solutions. So ICA is being awarded the EU Life Mark and Green Guard ECV validations. So develop the industry's first bio-based coating. It is being developed by the ICA. So I'm talking about, we are having a 53 years of experience behind. So water-based coating, ICA has developed 50 years back. So, when I'm talking about the R&D, so this is a kind of R&D I'm talking about. The product which is selling here, we have developed that product 50 years back, the water-based coating. The next line, if you see, the value contribution of these finishes in Italy is almost 50% to the total PU sold in the country. So say about 100 liter PU is sold in the country, so 50% is a water-based now. So if we take an example of last 10 years, the last 10 years, in UK, the number has grown from 2% to 21%. So in last 10 years, the water-based contribution towards total PU sale has grown by from 2% to 21%. And similarly in Poland also, it has grown from 7% to 23%. So we can see the change of thinking, the change in this water-based category, the eco homes. In India, this current value stands at 5%. That means there is a huge scope. So if I talk about Poland, UK, the contribution has gone from 7 to 23, from 2% to 21. So India, we are just having 5% of total PU sales. So huge scope is there for water-based category. So these are water-based coating benefits. It is a high elasticity, low odor, green certified, low VOC, stain and scratch resistance, higher coverage, no harmful chemical, anti-yellowing property. Anti-yellowing, we might face a difficulty in dyed veneer also. Now we are having a product, which is having an anti-yellowing property as well. So this is the Aquabella range. We are in interior, we are having a open foam finish. We have two products, Natural Touch and Nature Wood, which you can experience over there in our gallery. So that would be better, that you can touch and feel, that would be better. So that will give you the better understanding of the product as well. So that is a closed pore finish. It's a gloss and matte. Two kind of finishes are there in that. So special effects. So we are having a antique satin metal and Malta wood. Then interior application range is a parquet. It is a floor coating. Then exterior application range is cladding, exterior doors, windows, exterior furniture. And one thing, the feature which I want to highlight it here is a excellent resistance to UV rays. That is basically more important for any exterior coating, and the product which we have developed is having a good life on exterior as well. It is a water-based coating. So these are two designs which I am going to show you, the project which we have done. The project, the firm name is Logs and Luxury, and the Bandra Tree House. The coating water-based exterior which we have done. And the next slide which I am going to show you is, I really proud to show this slide to all of you. What is this? Can you see? This is a Parliament project, and I can proudly say, so ICA is the company who has done that project with a water-based coating. So we are having a variety of shades. So, the slide where I have said the full home solutions. So now we are having a colors on water-based products as well. There are 2000 plus colors. So earlier, there is a always a query from the architecture side that, water-base don't have a colors. So now you can play with the colors with water-base as well. You need some dark colors for the kids' rooms or any of the choice. So you can go for a water-based finish in ICA. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vikas. That was indeed a very interesting presentation. And now it's time to acknowledge our yet another partnering brand, Nexion. Can we please have the AV? Thank you to the team of Nexion for that brilliant AV. I would now like to invite Mr. Harish Kamath, Sales Head South in Nexion, to kindly come on stage and present further about this extravagant brand. Sir, can we please have you on stage?
Oh, yes, sir.
Good evening to all of you. So, I'm myself Harish Kamath, based in Bangalore, and I'm originally from Goa, belongs to this Mammai Kamath family. Whenever I go to our house built in 16th century, I feel very much connected with the subject of architecture. And coming to about Nexion. So Nexion Surfaces Private Limited is an Indo-Italian joint venture company established in 2014, and actual production of tiles started in the year 2016. And I should thank you all for making Nexion a super premium brand in India in the very short span of time. We are surface innovators in the premium segment, offering Italian style and quality. Why? Because we do a lot of R&D on the surfaces to give multiple finishes, multiple sizes, as well as multiple colors. So our design development office is in Italy, and tiles are manufactured in the state-of-the-art plant in Gujarat, in India. So basically the surfaces are designed in Italy and made in India. So we have got our own company-owned design labs across the major cities, 6 major cities, and we ensure exclusive display is done at our stores, dealer point of sales. And in Goa, we have got 2 dealerships. One is in Panjim, Duklo Bobo, and in South Goa, Margao, it is Nix Ceramics. And if you see the pictures of the design labs, we try to showcase the highest available size with us, that is 120 by 240. And on the right-hand side, if you see, we have arranged a matrix, product matrix, where on one wall, you can see the entire range, which will help you in the faster selection. So brand is inspired from the Vitruvian Man by Da Vinci. And I think, it talks about geometry of perfect proportion. And I'm sure you will be using in your design while designing the building, this golden ratio also. And if you see the logo, our logo, all the letters are there in that particular logo. So what are our core values? Basically, sapere means knowledge, ingeno means ingenuity, cura, the care for details, and then bellezza, that is the beauty of the products. So I will tell you about the technology. You know, the tiles, how it has evolved over the period of years. It started with ceramic tiles and then porcelain, and then vitrified has come into picture, where it started with, initially it was soluble salt, and then double charge, then full body, and latest is GVT. But the sintering is a technology. These are a couple of notches above vitrification tile in terms of water absorption. Here you can see in vitrified on the left-hand side, the water absorption is 0.5%, whereas in sintering, it goes below 0.08, the 10 times higher than the vitrification process, which is why there is no limitation for size and thickness. That is why we are able to produce multiple sizes irrespective of the thickness. Currently, we may manufacture 6 mm and 9 mm thick tiles. And it eliminates tension within the slab panel. It becomes a complete one full body. So, and it develops a degree of elasticity within the body. That is why it becomes flexible also. So broadly, we have classified our surface collections into 4: marbles, concretes, stones, and wood. So our core strength, when you see our marble finish tiles, the PGVT, it has got that mirror-like reflection quality. This is possible when we use dry granular technology on the glaze, which has to be imported from Italy. And when it comes to the surfaces, we offer up to 8 surface finishes in the single design. So as per the context, you can explore various possibilities. And Nexion was awarded Red Dot Design Award in the year 2020 for its 3-dimensional textures. So these are the 8 different finishes available with us in a single marble design. So depending upon the area of application, you can use different finishes. And the last 3 which I was talking about was about the Red Dot Award, with which you can use this for a chiaroscuro effect, the different light effects. I just like to give some of the observations which will help you in while making an informed decision. Like this is here, a comparison is between a polished sintered marble and a polished natural marble. We are not saying this is good or bad, but you can see the reflection, the quality of images. Here it is more softer, and here it is more sharper. Again, when you use marble, after few years of usage, it will develop an orange peel effect, because of which you will see you have to repolish, right, marble. But in sintered marble, you don't have to polish it again. And they are more resistant to stains and acids. So it is more durable. So technically, sintered marbles are more superior than the natural marbles. Here, the comparison is with the tile with any marble design. You will see the lot of distortions, the waviness, which will affect our brain over the period of time. So you will get a better visual comfort when you use sintered marble by getting the mirror-like reflection quality. So this is another important point where we say caliber of 8. Since we have multiple sizes, and if you see the dimension, it will have the caliber of 8. That means the caliber is basically a digit after the decimal point. So you can mix and match 2 or more sizes. That is possible with this. But only thing is, you have to notice, you have to leave 2 mm spacers between the tiles. Then end to end, there will be a perfect layout. Another important factor, R rating. Which tile to recommend where to specify. Currently, our full Lapato matte, that is the glossy tiles or the satin tiles, cannot be recommended for wet areas or high traffic areas, because R is a ramp value basically, which is got a directly proportional to DCOF, dynamic coefficient of friction. And for wet areas, it should be more than 0.4. And you see all our mat collections are either at R10 or at R10, R9. So which you can recommend it for high traffic areas. Apart from that, we have we can produce R11 as well as R12 also, because generally R11 is supposed to be recommended for pool deck areas or any old age homes. The bathrooms, the flooring should be with R11. And when it comes to when you design a 5-star hotels, the kitchen flooring should be R12 because of the oil and grease. So these things also we can produce and give, which is technically fit to that particular project. So what is our formula for product innovation? It consists of 4 virtuous elements: vision, knowledge, creativity, and method. So our vision is to create new realities inspired by nature that may not exist, but you feel that it could have existed. So, and this, we believe that this vision can be fulfilled through the knowledge of creativity, method of our diverse and culturally rich Italian and Indian team. See, today modern ceramics is what? It is basically digitally enabled replica of natural marbles. You can just copy it using the digital printing, right? Using high resolution cameras that is available. New generation ink and glaze and digital printing machine. You can see now how we are different from others. This is the same apple taken by 2 different photographers. You can see this is just a copy, but there it is a value addition. It looks beautiful. So this is the difference, what we try to make. And this is another interesting painting. We just try to compare. It is not, we are not saying this is good or bad. This is, he has done it original, and that is created. Because he is inspired by something original and given a new representation. The Bedroom in Arles by Van Gogh as well as Roy Lichtenstein. So we do both. Sometimes we try to copy as it is, and sometimes we do some modifications. We do both the things in our collections. So what is our process of industrial design? So our designers from Italy, they travel around the world. They look for inspiration. They frame the creative space and sketch ideas. And then they look for design elements. And they alter and combine and explore, make a prototype finally. And this prototype is sent to the factory in India. And they make the samples and send it back. Like this, there are 4 to 5 trial rounds. And finally, we freeze the design and go for the large scale production. So for example, Rochia Portuguese, what we have recently launched, is a combination of French stone as well as a Portugal stone, where they combined 2 stones and removed the change the black spots into white. Okay, I will explain this with one example. We wanted to develop something in black onyx. But you know, in nature, black onyx does not exist, right? So what we did? So this basically is a combination of 4 different marbles. I will show you how. So this is a green onyx, pink onyx, and agate marble. These are the inspirations, and we first turned into black because we wanted to develop something in black, and then retained some of the design elements from each of the marbles, and they got something like this. And after that, they added one more marble called honey onyx and did some alteration, and finally, this is the black onyx which we have displayed in our booth. Please have a visit. And now I will show you how we use art in our designing. So from far it looks something, right? But when you go closer, you will find that these are the wrapped up papers and in some Japanese letter. So when you look at surfaces, the whole is a sum of large amount of details. That is what we try to. And similarly, when you see our black Calcutta, what we have, and when you go closer to that one particular portion, you will see a lot of detailing in that particular area, where you can see the change of color, and there is some crackle effect within the vein. See all this small detailing, like some hairline cracks, or some oxidation, all those things we try to replicate as it is to give you, to make it as natural as possible. So this year in Venice, we have put up an installation in collaboration with APE for Architecture, the studio based in Nasik. You can just
main speaker for the largest satellite at the European Cultural Center. Its aims are in general to create another platform for cultural exchange.
Venice definitely would. Historically, the city that was always projected for things. And we like to be part of trying to make this working better. Whole institution is made out of industrial waste created in the tiny industry. And here we are basically talking about how we could make use of these waste materials which is created in ceramic factories in India. Is primarily a reflection on the works of last 10 years, which primarily talks about our learnings, failures, our interest in materials, our interest in the idea of space making. And if you look at each of our projects, it is trying to deal with a specific material and expand that idea around the material into the space.
In our projects, we first try to assess the landscape and then we try to put up a structure. So the city really allows us to do that.
So in Milan Design Week this year, we had put up a stall. I think that video is not going. I will just tell what exactly we tried to show it, because generally you specify the lights based on its color temperature, which is measured in kelvins, and the CRI, right? Color rendering index. But there is something more to consider. This value is not enough because the same CRI value can lead to that there will be a distortion of colors with respect to hue and saturation, because the same orange can look like a lemon. So because of this, there is a new standard that has come out called TM30 by North America, which takes care of fidelity index, gamut index, and color vector graphic. Because CRI is based on 8 color samples, where it takes into account 99 color samples, and only pastel colors in CRI, where this includes the saturated colors as well. So this is our, I will end with the last upcoming. Please play this video. We will be launching very soon this Riga collection, which is basically a 3D structure on the cement finish. And I would like to conclude. This is a proud moment for us when an architect says he is inspired by our collection. This is featured in Vogue India magazine also. So he has used our Terrellino collections, the linen imprint, the 9 colors what are available for the entire villa. With this, I thank you all. And
Thank you so much, Mr. Harish. That was really a very beautiful presentation. And now we move on to the next session, the panel discussion with the dynamic next-gen panel architects, the ones who will dictate the architecture of tomorrow. And to begin the session, once again, I'd like to invite on stage our curator and moderator, Architect Jyoti Rath. But before that, can we please set the stage again? Come here. So to begin with the next gen panel discussion, I'd like to invite our dear panelists, starting with Architect Adhiraj Bhattacharya, partner from Dado. Architect Pushkaraj Karakar, Principal Architect, Studio 13 Architecture and Urban Design. Architect Munish Chauhan, Founder and Principal Architect from Bowerbird Lab. Okay, I believe he might be not available right now. So moving on, Architect Sanita Chaturvedi, Director and Co-Founder from Studio C+C. Come on, Goa, we should have a bigger round of applause. And last but not the least, Architect Sharon De Mello, Principal Architect from Sharon De Mello Designs. One more mic. I'll announce for one more mic. What? One more of these. Can we have one more mic?
Hello? They seem to have changed the mic from the seniors to the next gen. You've got the, see, now look at that. Now you've got the fancy mics. Because I'm the next gen. I'm the last gen. All right, shall we go?
Yes, sir.
Everybody's hungry. Okay. I think you all heard the question, so I will not repeat the questions. But I think I'm hoping that I will get more disruptive answers out of you because older people will always play safe. And so I'm hoping that you'll give me a strong direction on aesthetic that you personally believe in. Shall we start with you? Take a mic.
So for me, aesthetics is basically something that brings life into a space. It could be the small artifacts too, like even a window which is placed correctly, but the kind of light that comes into a room. So for me, it is about something that brings life to space.
Sanita, I think you need to switch it on. Yeah.
Hello, hello. Good.
Yep.
Yeah. I think a little bit more like your generation, maybe. I feel architecture is a lot about problem solving. Aesthetics are a part of that. And I really believe that architecture is not an absence of everything else, neither are aesthetics. Constraints are a part of what makes architecture, what makes aesthetics. So I really feel the budgets that clients have or the limits we set for ourselves, the constraints do help us bringing in better solutions or pleasing solutions or more innovative solutions, because if there were no constraints, it's just us kind of designing for our egos.
Well said.
Hi. I agree with what I agree with what she said, because I can't place aesthetics separate from architecture. It's a part of architecture. So aesthetics, if we are not getting aesthetics from our basic design, then we are failing somewhere. And it has nothing to do with economics, because I think the basic definition of aesthetics is it follows certain rules of beauty, and that's what we are here for.
I really love that, but go on.
I think personally for me, aesthetics is a visual expression. Ultimately, it boils down to that. And for us, we believe that nature is the biggest example that we kind of learn from. The aesthetics of a building is one that kind of coexists with nature, and how well it does that in a time frame is what I think we define aesthetics. That's about it.
All right. I was quite, I loved your reaction about the order and rules, but it kind of self-destructs in front of a concept like Wabi Sabi, which says that beauty lies in imperfection. I mean, I once did a talk on that, and if the research actually showed up that we're with a sanitary company, but anyway, so this showed us that basically, you walk into a roughly finished toilet which has got stone bowls and the greenery outside, as against a precisely ordered toilet, and which one brings a smile to your face. So I would actually question that.
That's a good observation. By rules, what I meant is, like, if you see nature, of course, there is a lot of, haphazardness in nature, but there is an order in nature. And that order is what makes nature beautiful. And I think that's what we should strive to seek in our buildings. Yeah.
You're sitting on dangerous ground.
It's not hard and fast rules of, straight lines, but when the line bends, it has to have some kind of order. Otherwise, it's just not going to make sense.
What do you think?
Just to add to that, I think there's also a phrase called economy of means, which is really well used in nature. And we don't see ugly things in nature. So if aesthetic, I think eventually we have to evolve why aesthetic and economics are separate.
Like we said, we're going to be playing dumb charades. We're only dealing with one part of the word right now. Come to the second part.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, in nature, economy of means does exist. That's why for me, they're not separate.
We're sitting on dangerous ground here, because the whole definition of order and beauty was something that the Greeks did. This nose is good and that color is good. Now that's dangerous ground, right? So I think that I would believe that the aesthetic is regional, personal. What's beautiful for somebody is not necessarily, it may not be disruptive, but it may, because in following, and I think we should debate this a little bit, in following rules, are we not constrained? putting constraints on ourselves? Don't you think? What do you think, Sharon?
I think those constraints, if addressed nicely, we could come up with really good designs. I mean, for me, those constraints are challenges that help us come up with something better. Because, as she said earlier, like without challenges, we might not achieve the end result. So I personally feel.
All right, interesting, because the other day I walked into a space and I want an opinion on this. So it was a terrazzo floor, and three of the very organized, whatever, Moroccan or whatever it was, right? And three of the tiles were twisted around. Is that design? Is that disruption? Is that break of order? What is really happening here? No, you can.
I mean, to me, it all again comes back to nature, because again, the evolution happens the same way, that there is a certain DNA or a RNA that runs, but disruptions is what causes the evolution to happen. And I believe it's the same in design, because and again, sometimes it's also a bit of I would say innovation on site also that happens in India, like the crazy pattern that came up in tiling.
Right. But that's definitely an organic way to work. To you?
Yeah, I think to have an anomaly in something is required to cut down monotony. So if something is too monotonous and is following a rule, but you add a little bit of haphazardness just to enhance that actually. So that is also a part of order, I feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the formative years of training when you're at college and you're learning, they don't necessarily teach you about, let's say, business or money, because you're supposed to visualize and come up with something that's unique, truly inspired, and different. And then you kind of, when you step into the professional world, you kind of relearn that with the economics of it, right? But in the concept stages of any project, I feel like we should, go crazy and come up with something that kind of provokes or it's completely different or challenges known concepts. And if that is not there, then it stops being an art form, because then you're just going with something that's kind of familiar.
Right.
So
But,
maybe the
but,
terrazzo
but,
with the
but
tile.
nothing can be called disruptive unless you define the norm, right? I mean, something is different because something was normal. I mean, I think that's the point that you're making, and it's quite interesting that until you define the normal, you cannot define.
Absolutely.
I mean, it can't, neither can exist in isolation, right? So you want to tell us about something that you're doing that is purely aesthetical? No constraints.
There are constraints everywhere, but
But they're in your head, no?
no. So something which is purely aesthetical. See, for me, so I personally find aesthetics in the extremely small things. So like how you gave the entire story of the terrazzo flooring. For me, if I knew the story behind it, that would kind of create some sort of meaning. Without knowing the story, I think aesthetics remains a little incomplete.
We all chose the field of design because we didn't want to study maths or something like that. So it's okay for us to be a little.
It is. But I just feel that once you know the story behind it, the sense of appreciating the aesthetics becomes stronger.
Okay, I mean, it's interesting, and I want to lead you to something else, but Sanita, you've already made tell us something that's you really want to share about something that you're doing that is disruptively aesthetic.
I wouldn't say disruptively aesthetic, because again, things are always in a boundary of certain constraints. But I can share two extreme projects that we are doing. So we are doing one of the tallest towers in Delhi right now. And the disruption there is that even though it's a residential tower and please don't take me to the sustainability police for this. But we have a lot of glazing on the tower. And again, as we were discussing before, the iconic element required it to be so in terms of the form and in terms of the elements and the materials. Again, we still don't know how people living there would react to it. So we just feel it's disruptive in the experience.
Yeah, come and see Grand Arc in Gurgaon. See how people,
And then, contrary to this, we are doing a Ayurvedic hospital in inland Maharashtra, where we have a huge site of almost, but the program is not that big. So there again, we started, again, as we were talking about previously, oh, let's do rammed earth, let's do something which is very local. And then we start looking at the earth and it's actually black soil, which is not good for doing rammed earth. So then we kind of moved our focus into doing something which is very local. And again, it's not really kind of disruptive in any other way. But I believe it's just more about intention on whether you want to be provocative in one case. And in the other case, we are trying to put in familiarity to the people who come to the hospital.
Yeah, that's very interesting considering they built a new Ayurvedic center on the way to the airport. It's scary.
That's what we don't want to do.
There's no equation between the intent of the building and the sensibility of why you go there. So anyway, but that's we can't get into that. I wanted to ask a question. Sorry, I got distracted, but it'll come back to me. Do you want to answer the question?
No, as I said, I don't place aesthetics separately from any of my projects. It is a byproduct of what we try to design, and hopefully we achieve it in the end. So that's aesthetic is not my goal. To achieve more functionality and to satisfy or to make a nice outcome of the brief is what we are striving hard to do.
Okay.
And again, aesthetics is again a very subjective matter.
All right, I'm going to now load the question after he answers.
So your question was, have I done something aesthetically?
No. What's really exciting you about a project? Something that's really exciting you aesthetically right now?
Okay.
In a project
What
that's
excites
really
us first,
keeping
and
you
I think
awake
you
at
guys
night?
will agree with me, is when you get a project, a client says, "Why don't you come and see the site?" And only after a site visit, there's a specific frequency and an energy and the trees and all of that. And that kind of becomes a defining factor for what the aesthetics could be, because we visualize. So something that starts off by the client saying, there are beautiful trees and there are butterflies and the sun gleams beautifully, changes very quickly to, listen, I want a 5-bedroom house, which is spanking and large, So aesthetics has to be not disruptive, but synergetic with what you have on that site. And that's what was cool, because with this client, we had to tell him that, look, if you start doing this volume thing, this beautiful site that you acquired for its traits are going to get demeaned by this massive structure. And so then we opened the chapter and looked back at, do you really need so much of space? What is it that you're actually doing here? You want to feel that expansiveness. You want to interact with that tree. You want to see how the sun hits you in the evenings. So that was disruptive. And then getting him on the same page where it's synergetic with why he first acquired that land.
All right.
Yeah.
So the answers are all very politically correct. So suppose you put 5 painters in front of that site of yours, would they not interpret it differently and abstractly?
They would, and that's the
But
beauty.
I'm only worried about that we're getting too logical about the aesthetics. Where in the last session I had, the client and this and that, and I'm still asking. At the end of it, I feel that it'd be easy if you're recognized and you're young enough to be disruptive. You'd be recognized before you have a 40 people office and you got salaries to pay, and then your mindset is completely different. But right now, it should be quite easy to say, this is what I want to do, and I want the world to know this is what I do. Scary,
I mean, I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't.
Really? Yeah. Already. All right. economic challenges that you face, and you face them more when you're younger, by the way. Karen, yep. Let's start with you, youngest. So you'll probably have the most problems.
Yeah, I do actually, but with economics.
No one's
but-
giving us money to work.
True. So it's important to understand, so here, it's very important to understand how you explain to the client where to save the money and where not to save. Like, not really not save, but where to spend correctly is what I would say. Because, yeah.
Okay. Let me load that question a little more. So if you see a lot of spaces, whether it's, and I don't see this gap between interior design and architecture. There is this trend to use materials which have perceivably beauty, marble with veins, a Louis Paulson light on the ceiling. And of course, the space will look nice, but was that an aesthetic? I'm raising a question on something called borrowed aesthetics integrated into my aesthetic. Is that a very heavy question? Right? I mean, I'm very worried about designers sliding into a position of being specifiers. Right?
I totally agree with you. Can I take this?
Yeah, please go ahead. I'm done.
You are actually talking what I was thinking before coming here, because I'm not a big fan of exposed concrete. Let me tell you this. And I see the younger generation really is crazy about it. And I feel that concrete is the next plastic. And if you're using exposed concrete for a house, I've seen some houses in Ahmedabad and a lot of places, and they are winning awards and all. But I feel it's a failure. I mean,
Including Doshi's house, by the way.
I can say that some of Corbusier's buildings also I don't like. I mean, I can be adamant about it, but yes, time will change, and
it's completely okay not to like.
Yes, and that's what I got a platform to tell this, because a lot of younger generation is getting misguided into using materials which are not making sense in the context at all.
Actually, I think you've raised a beautiful point, and I really want to touch upon this. I think it's reactive to the amount of glass and aluminum. So in the absence of another idiom, maybe we're looking for that. I don't know. Right. So you have various trends happening all over. I mean, when you're reacting to when you're starting to work with, you're saying local, you're saying vernacular. I must share with you a story. When I started working in Goa, I also did this research, and I discovered that the Mangalore tile mold came in 1926 with a German Jesuit who brought the press to India. It didn't exist before that, and now it's synonymous with Goa. Right? So there is this fallacy in this story. I'm just raising a point on what you're saying, is that is there a reaction to, and I think it'd be interesting because Foster had very serious viewpoints on this. I mean, he shifted from the Swiss rebuilding to the other extreme, right? No, it's very interesting. I used to follow him like crazy. So I'm wondering whether we're getting a reaction to this, what I call the innocuous architecture driven by materialism, or these new buildings where I cannot see the difference between a Singapore and a New York, or a, even actually LA is better. It doesn't have so many of such like buildings. So you think there's a reaction to this? In fact, the whole Bauhaus movement and the brutalism was a reaction to the Baroque, no? I mean, saying strip naked, just let's get down to basics. Is that, you think, something that's happening? I mean,
part of the problem is also in the past almost 100 years, how many new materials have been invented, especially for the outside of the building. It's the same things we have: brick, concrete, glass. We can count on one hand. And besides that, anything that we want to do in a very formal way, like a Zaha Hadid, Azerbaijan kind of structure, that requires really deep pockets for for the client.
Yeah, you have to be very lucky.
So for the rest of us who are not Zaha Hadids of the world, we are left with a
So you
very,
probably need to start painting first, no, to become a Zaha Hadid.
oh, well, I mean, I don't think I want to be Calatrava either, who just bankrupted cities. So there
Yeah.
has to be a,
There was that museum, I think in which Herzog and Murian were doing with those circular windows, which also was a disaster. Yeah,
so
but anyway.
I
No,
mean,
it was the opera.
right. So it's just that for the most of us architects.
But that's a beautiful example of city getting bankrupted because an aesthetic could not meet economics. Right? It's a great example.
Or the
That the
economics
lack,
didn't meet the aesthetics.
yes, so went to the wrong architect, right? Which is the point that I was making, that it'd be great if you knew how much a building would cost.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of just taking it another step further when we are with the clients, and I'm bringing this point again and again, that we do work in constraints, because of course, for us, one of the first things we do like to know is what is the budget of the client, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who are shelling it out. It's not my money that I can do whatever I want with it. Within that parameter, I think, of course, if they want a Ferrari in the budget of a Nano, it's a complete no-no. But other than that, we do definitely try to bring the two together. Another thing that we have learned is that, as Shannon was also mentioning before, is that we have to guide the client in where to spend and where not to spend. And it comes a lot from their aspirations. So slowly we have to reach a balance where we are able to tell them where to spend. And also we as architects, we, in our visual thinking of 100,000 things we want in a house, we try to say, okay, we try to focus on these 10, get them to be the way we want them to be, and we try to compromise to a good enough level with the remaining.
It's fantastic. I have 2 points here. You know, when you look back at our traditional architecture, our forts, our palaces, they never finished them at one sitting with their architects. They ran out of money. The ruler probably said, let me attack the next state, get some more money and finish my 16th bedroom. It's a fact. So and I like this point that you're making. And so what it says is that why don't you build less, but why don't you build well? Right? And why don't you build next year? Right? That's one approach. Because the belief that you must build well, it's like taking a whole loaf of bread and one of those butter pieces from the airline flight and saying, I'm going to butter this loaf. Will you get any butter on it? No, right? So but that's where the economic story comes in, the power of economics to be able to drive design, to be able to do whatever you do well.
True, and I think in that aspect, it is not only about the visual, because nowadays it's become so much about the render and the image. It's not about that. It is also about how the building actually ages, because you can make the most beautiful building today in Mumbai and one monsoon, and if you're not using the right materials, it's done and dusted. So I think also the economics part of it is not just about getting that vision or iconic stature today, but it is also that it has to be able to live to that reputation
But I
for the
think
next many
I think
years.
iconic is an overrated word because it's impossible to future-proof a building. There's always something better, someone brighter, and someone having a brighter guy having a better client, right? Will probably make a more iconic building.
True. Form,
Because
yes.
you can't do anything without a great client. I mean, this I believe in after 35 years.
Building is as good as your client.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to say something.
Please.
When you get a project inquiry, right? Apart from asking for a budget, sometimes it's very helpful to ask them, do you have a visual reference for what you're envisioning for this space? Some clients say that, yeah, I have this budget. Some say, I want this look. And as an architect, you're supposed to manage their expectations when you say that this is my budget, but you want this kind of house, versus we can build this, do you have the budget for that? Okay. As architects, since we are visualizing and designing, it's also more fun to let the client also visualize that, soak that in. You know, you mentioned in the last discussion that they have 2-3 pockets and suddenly they realize.
I was not. The issue is that I think I respect the fact that maybe those pockets had the money for their kids' education or a holiday somewhere, maybe, so I think there's no limitless, but the bigger point that I wanted to make was that I don't think and which was I'm still trying to make, is that I don't think the client has the ability to write the program and the budget. It's not possible. They don't have the skill set to do that. They might say, I have so much money, and they're saying, I want this. But the only person who can translate that into reality is us, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's where I'm asking the disruptive question, is that when do you say no? Or what is your advice? Because you see a huge mismatch. And remember one thing, architects never say no to a job. Oh,
That's
sorry,
not
you're disruptive, you probably say. But, please accept what I say as a generic comment, because, I used to have a sign in my office when I first started, which says, and it was a saying by, I can't remember the architect. He says, so when you graduate, what is the first thing that you do? You go out and find a client. What's the next thing that you do? What's the next thing that you would do?
The first thing you do when you get out of college is you
No,
design.
when you open an office.
Okay.
Okay, we've skipped that phase where you drifted.
Okay, please, could you continue with your question? Sorry.
No, so I want to know, if the first thing you do is get a client, what do you do after that?
We start concept designs. I mean,
I'm going to make it very simple for you. Go get the next client. Okay. So that's the truth. So there's that reality in that story. But anyway, that's the economics part of it. But I'm really concerned about the fact that over years, I've found that too many clients have a grouse that, this architect is great, but, he took so long and he overran the budget, right? Which is really the 2 points that we split. The third point wasn't, actually, there's a very interesting theory in the world of design, and I think you'll relate to it, that there's a triangle, right? At the top of the triangle is time. At one end, on the left side, is aesthetics or design. And on the third corner is money. The truth is, if you reduce the time, right, and you keep the area of the triangle the same, it will stretch, and the cost will go up and the design will go down, right? Yeah. You increase the time, you'll find that both the quality of design and the quality of the reduction in budgets will happen, because iteration can happen. And I think one of the biggest challenges is that we work too fast, right? I mean, the pressure is too high to be able to really juggle this. What's your viewpoint? So you not only are you not telling a client that I can't do it, you also have the third dimension of saying, I can't do it in this time.
But I have to say that that's also very distorted because of the way the profession has become in India.
Control C, Control V?
No, not that only, but in terms of time. Because having worked abroad, and I'm sure Amita Vikrant here, my partner Esteban, they would all agree that design takes time. And
Design takes time.
good design takes time. And to rush it up, you lose the design, you lose the time, you lose the money. Eventually, that's what happens. So I think for us as a practice, one of the few things that we do in the get-go is to try to explain to the client the entire stage by stage of what are we going to give them and why it takes that long. Because otherwise it's like you have a meeting now and kal concept final. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
Yep. I want to start construction next week. Right?
Or rather, I have started construction already.
Yeah.
Give me the concept tomorrow.
Jesus, I just sacked my last architect. Can you come on and take it on in half an hour? No, seriously, I really feel that the third dimension is really time that is going to affect both these two outcomes. What aesthetic without enough time?
True, and I think it is the job of us and our generation to start actually more and more educating the client about it, that about budgets, about time, because in the end, all of that affects the aesthetic. All of that affects the urban, outcome of the cities we talk about. It's
Yeah.
all these rushed projects where, sometimes the back elevation gets built onto the front road.
Yeah, we really don't manage to hit version 3, option 24, right? Just don't get there.
Final.
Right. Okay. Seriously, guys, I mean, loving this discussion, but I'm overdue somewhere. Can I please apologize? Why don't you round up and tell me your thoughts that you want to share with the audience? Let's all round up. I'm really apologize, but I'm seriously out of time.
So, what is it like the
Tell them
balance?
what you want to tell them.
So yeah, so I think at the end it's the balance between the economics and the aesthetics, and where we come into play is how we tell the clients where to spend and where not to spend. I think that responsibility is something that we should look into, like, because I don't really think clients always know the right places to spend. Sometimes they're just fantasizing on something and they just want that one thing there.
They saw it on Pinterest here last night. House. That's the other one, right?
I think I'll just finish up on just continuing what I was saying before, that we as architects should take the responsibility of trying to guide the clients in trying to help them out in understanding design, timelines, budgets, and also why we deserve the fee we do.
Yeah, right. Also, throw in some yoga and meditation advice as well.
As a
30 seconds to make your point.
Okay. Yeah, so I think first of all, we need to stop Pinterest because.
But I have to, sorry, I have to butt in here. I think Pinterest is fantastic.
Yeah.
The guys who use Pinterest are the guys who are going to become multi-billionaires, right? Right? Takes Bill Gates. He didn't invent Windows.
Yeah.
He accessed it. And so the guys who can access good design are going to make the millions. All of us who want to avoid Windows will not make money. You okay with that, I hope? Yeah. I'm kidding. Anyway.
Yeah, it's just that there's too much of information and the client is not educated enough to filter out what is good and what is bad, what fits in his budget and what not. So that's the, kind of a little bit of, sad thing that's
Yeah, it's very true.
And
I think we were very fortunate that the only way you could access information
yeah.
was to read the whole article and the book on the life of that architect to understand why he did. Abhi to Google karo, 6 image milta hai na.
Yeah. That's
Problem hai.
So aesthetics and economics have no, there's no relevance if people just, start sending you WhatsApp images like from Pinterest and say, this is what I want.
Absolutely, because there's no way that your skill and your control in
Absolutely.
economics can be influenced by images from Puerto Rico or
Yes,
wherever it
exactly.
came from. Right?
I think architecture continues to be a space where art and economics intersect. And as architects, we should guide our client and inform them better and draw that thing out together so that it's like a back-to-back thing where we both learn something together and successfully realize that. Because when you say yes to a client, you're saying yes to 18 or 24 months of a relationship with them. And so you
Yep.
have to like
It's
learn and grow together.
a good line, and I'm going to share with you
Yeah.
one that you should use.
Yeah.
You get a new client, and the first thing you tell them, let's agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I need to wind this up.
Thank you.
Okay. So I I wanted everyone to stay back for the felicitation. Okay, okay. So I'd like to invite Ms. Ruchika Sahai from Jaguar, Mr. Ganesh Prabhu from Hafle, and Mr. Harish Kamath, Sales Head South from Nexion. Kindly come on stage. Can we have a group picture? Thank you so much. We now begin with our felicitation. I invite architect Adhiraj Bhattacharya to kindly come forward. Architect Pushkaraj Karakat. Architect Sanita Chaturvedi. And architect Sharon DeMello. Thank you so much, everyone, for making this panel a huge success. And before we wrap up the design debate event, we have one more very special message. We would like to play an AV about our event, Aces of Spaces. Can we please have the AV?
Most celebrated designers and architects in this room. I think we really worked tirelessly to bring together this evening an evening of celebration of design.
This is a great honor because I'm alongside some other architects and interior designers who I admire very much. The people who are working in this group are energized, they are up to the mark, available, and they're absolutely enlightening. I would like to thank ITP Group for considering this kind of an award and honoring working professionals. We are really thankful to the entire fraternity for recognizing and really giving us an opportunity to showcase our work. Thank you, ITP, for having me here today.
Project is very close to our heart. We are very grateful that it's been recognized nationally. Thank you very much.
Can we have a huge round of applause for the Aces of Spaces AV? And finally, we wrap up the Design Debate Goa edition. It has been an absolute joy, and you all have been a very wonderful and a patient audience. Thank you so much, each one, for coming and making time for our event. I'd like to thank our sponsors, title sponsor Jaguar, powered by ICA Italian Wood Finishes, associate partner Hafley, category partner Nexion. Thank you all for your support. And of course, I'd like to thank our esteemed guests, the very dear guest of honor, our keynote, our fantastic curator, and all the panelists for taking time to making this evening a phenomenal success. It was truly a joy to pick up your brains. Goa, you've been lovely, and we hope to see you again. And before that, before we finally bid a goodbye, I'd like to invite our director, Mr. Vibhor Srivastava, to please come on stage.
No, I don't want to hold you. I think it's been a marathon evening, but truly of substance. I think all of us, and I think the kind of panel discussion and the discussion we had, one big learning for me, the lady said we must have a lady on the panel. I really want to take this, and I want everybody in ITP to make sure we will not do any panel discussion unless we have a lady on the panel. So that,
absolutely.
And I mean it. We are live on YouTube. So I think lots of people are watching, and I don't want to make any false claim. We stand by it. It's a great, great feedback. Point number 2, you saw Aces of Space. This is an incredible awards. At least we get about more than in the G1200 nominations. And we have already lined up a very nice jury. And it's going to be in Ranthambore in a nice Zara resort. The guys who own Six Senses, they're going to host us. And we're going to take the India's best architects to judge. And I think Goa has a lot of promises and a lot of things to really show to the world at large. My humble request is to all the young and everybody here in the room outside to please send us your nomination. I think my team and I will work tirelessly to make sure your work is given to the jury, and rest is your fate. But I think you must participate. So ladies and gentlemen, it's a Friday evening. I don't want to bore you any more discourse. You have been an amazing audience right at this hour, absolutely engrossed into the discussion. Thank you very much. The bar is open. It will not shut down.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope you all enjoy your evening.